Week 32 since I turned 49, week 8, I think, of this. Anyhow, it's going next week. It's December, right? But week 32 since I turned 49 and decided I'm just going to chat to interesting people each week. And I found another interesting person to chat to. Met her several years ago at the Brisbane Club through another interesting guy, which on here soon one time. And reached out to her. I said, "Dude, you do interesting things and I'd like to know more about them. So can you come and sit in front of the camera with me and we talk about the things you do that help other people?" So she did. Let's go check it out. There is Crystal. Where'd that name come
I was born in Cairns, only born there, never raised. Mum just decided that she was born in Hobart and she wanted me to be born on the other side of Australia in Hamaland. But if anyone who's ever been to Cairns knows that there is a beautiful waterfall there called the Crystal Cascades.
from? There you go.
And I'm named after the Crystal Cascades.
Everybody's got a story with their name. That's awesome. Let's start. Tell me about what you do in the world. What keeps you busy?
Oh gosh, a lot of things keeps me busy. What helps me pay for my living is my work as a consultant. It's my work with businesses to help them align on their strategy, leadership, and culture. That's underpinned by a mission of mine. And that is that I want to help people make sure that they have a really great day and is able to reverberate through the rest of their life. Because if you had a crap day at work because of not great leadership or not great culture, it impacts your personal life too. So I want to be able to be a part of the story that helps build positive workplace cultures, builds really great leaders, helps people feel like they can reach their potential at work, be more purposeful, and enjoy themselves, and then go into their personal life, bringing that energy with them. You're at your day job every day for it's like a third of your lifetime you spend at work. So I want to be part of the story that helps make that a good workplace, good opportunity for everyone.
Yeah, awesome. I say to my team at work, I said, outside of sleeping, this is what we do the most. So we should make it fun and engaging and rewarding. Let's go back to the start. Where did you go to university?
So I went to university at QUT
Mm-hmm.
and I started at QUT as a mature age student. Means that I was over 21.
Right.
Yes.
And what did you do there?
So I studied a course called Human Services, which is similar to social work.
Okay.
It was not the intention.
Right.
The intention was psychology.
Mm-hmm.
I always had a fascination around how did people operate? Why did they do the things they did? What made them act a certain way they did? What makes them tick? So I was interested in psychology. Life journey took me in different ways. So I ended up in human services instead. So after university, I was like, okay, well, I've got a degree that wasn't my ideal degree. What can I do with this? What steps can I take next that gets me closer to where I'd like to be next? I saw Queensland government have a graduate program called the Policy Futures Graduate Program. I applied and I wasn't successful the first year, but I got into a different role within government and I applied again the second year and got in that time. So
Awesome.
got in and I was in Queensland government for a few years. Realized that policy is very different to the kind of tasks that I wanted to be doing, which was more connecting and engaging with and helping people more directly. So I hopped out of that and hopped into the not-for-profit sector at the Smith family and then moved on towards other organizations as well. Worked in registered training organizations, group training organizations, and community organizations, doing employment coaching, training, and skills.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a journey.
And what do you love about what's been your favorite role so far?
Favorite for different reasons. My last role was employability coaching and training. I was working with people who were unemployed, and my role was to help them improve their mindset, understand how they could better themselves through employment and through education, and how they could overcome their background. I worked with them on individually coaching, but also doing professional development training, which I loved that. That helped me learn that I love that training, workshop, facilitation. I liked that environment where you get to help people develop. So I loved it for that reason and the impact. And that particular role helped me fulfill a mission that had been driving me for a really long time. And that was that I got to become the person I wish I'd had access to as a teenager.
Yeah, wow.
So that was pretty powerful to get to a place where I achieved that mission. But then there was the question of, okay, what's next? That's what led me to realize that I've got more in my tank and that I also wanted to be part of, as I said before, helping businesses and people have a really great day at their workplace because then it can achieve more in a greater scale. If people feel good about themselves, reaching their potential, have got good leadership, good culture at their workplace, which is the main place people spend most of their time, then they can have a really great life for a long time.
Yeah, awesome.
So, yeah, I wanted to have more in me. So I hopped into the consulting world.
We met years ago through another wonderful human being that was a member of the Brisbane Club. One day I'm sitting there and I introduced myself to an interesting fellow who turns out to be quite the author. And I knew nothing about authors. So it was great to get to know him and chat to him. And we met through that. And I believe you'd met Bryn through Toastmasters.
Yeah, so we actually met through government.
Interesting.
We actually did officially meet through Queensland government, but we became friends through Toastmasters. So that was a shared interest of ours. Bryn had been part of the Toastmasters community for quite a while, and he was more of an experienced Toastmaster. So I got to learn a little bit from him. And then, yeah, I continued my Toastmasters journey for a little while longer, and it was a great opportunity.
And while I haven't seen Bryn at the club for a while, you're certainly heavily involved there these days.
Now I am. Yeah, it's been really great.
Tell me about some of your activities at the club.
Yeah. So what kind of drew me in was a particular person. You always need at least a good one or two people who just drags you in. So it was Jono who pulled me in from the motoring group, and he's the convener of that. Noticed that I have an interest in cars and I enjoyed the drives. And I stupidly asked if he would like some assistance one day.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you can organize the drives for me, please. And made me co-convener of the motoring group.
Awesome.
So that's what got me really fully pulled in. It
Mhm.
built in a community pretty quickly and immediately. So that allowed me to know more people and feel more like the Brisbane Club's a second home, which it definitely feels like it is now. So the motoring club is the main one that I have engagement with. Through that, I've also gotten to meet more people in the young members group as well and the snooker group.
Yeah, awesome.
So that's probably my three key areas that I play in with at the Brisbane Club. And yeah, I come along there, and that's also where I have some business meetings and client meetings. And it's just a nice, relaxing, quiet environment.
And there's been some quite amazing motoring group events that you guys have pulled off in the last year. One at a new hotel or a new refurbished hotel with some super sports cars.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was earlier this year. So the Amora Hotel was having their relaunch, and we had our supercar event there as well. So it's had several beautiful supercars. But that actually wasn't my favorite event this year.
Tell me, Richard, tell me what was.
Favorite event this year was having to definitely be our Audi track day.
Okay.
So it was a really lovely Audi experience. Got to drive the RS3, RS5, RS6, and a couple of other cars that were just really awesome. So got to be having a bunch of us going around the track, doing different activities. It was just a really fun day. Got to go onto the skid pan as well and chuck the RS6 into some skids, which was really fun. That was an awesome day.
And somewhere along the time I've known you pulled the plug on the world of corporate employment and went, I'm going overseas.
Yeah, I did.
Tell me about that, because that's not something you see people do often or at all, really. So tell me about that.
Yeah. So that one was the travels was, gosh, a few things led up to that. So in my personal world, I'm an only child, and my parents used to live up near Bundaberg Way. They
Mhm.
lived on the same property for a while, but things were just not going okay. Dad's health was not great. And just a few things in the family shifted, which resulted in me buying a property and having my dad move in with me. And my mum moved in close by to another suburb nearby. And so I went from being a single independent woman living near the city to moving to Kalanga, buying a house, paying the mortgage, and looking after my parents in different ways. So for a year, I had my dad living with me and I was helping him through his health challenges until I could get him moved into his own place and got him stabilized. And then my mum moved in with me. And my mum and I had a bit of a different kind of relationship, and she needed support, but it was in a different kind of way. Mum had experienced trauma in her lifetime, and she never really sought assistance for it and had some not so great behaviors. And that took a bit of a toll on me. I was doing a service based job working with people who were unemployed, who had their own challenges. And I was then coming home to my mum who had her challenges too. And I realized that that wasn't the life I wanted to live any longer, and that I was living my life for other people. So that was the catalyst when I made that realization that I didn't want that future that I could see attached to the house and attached to having family and being the primary carer. I said, that's not for me. So it was a really tough conversation I had to have with my mum and said, I'm going to need you to find your own way and I can't keep propping you up because I need to make choices for me. And for me, being the sole income earner, paying a mortgage by myself and feeling like I don't have a future that is mine is not for me. So had that conversation, mum moved out. I decided that I was going to sell the house. And a friend of mine knew that I was thinking about selling the house and quitting that particular job and moving into the city and going into consulting. That was the plan. And I'm so glad they asked me, what's the rush? They said, you're about to sell your house and have some finances behind you. Why not take the time to travel? Travel is something that I had wanted to do since I was a kid, but never felt was possible. And I always talked myself out of it for several reasons. I used to think that travel was a way of escaping life. So I used to push it off. And then that conversation I had with my friend sparked well, actually, maybe I should take the opportunity. I'm going to have that time. So I'll go travel. I remember those thoughts though came into my head of, oh, is that just you escaping again? But then I remember seeing this quote, it was perfectly timed. And it was said, we do not travel to escape life. We travel so life does not escape us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that secured that decision for me. It was, yes, selling the house, taking the time, going to do some travel. I'll have my eat, pray, love journey.
Where did you go?
Yeah. So the first stop on my travels was Italy.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I started in a little town called Bari. It was a beautiful place to begin. Very, to me, authentic. I got to walk around the old town Vecchia, watching the nonnas making orecchietta pasta, which was just beautiful. And I got to live out my teenage dream of sitting down with an Italian family at the big dinner table with all of the food, because I got to do a food stay adventure where I got to stay at this farmhouse and just learn how to make Italian food. And I got to spend that time with the family who were there. It was a beautiful opportunity to spend some time with this family. We were there at the time of the year where they make passata. So this family and I were making about 140 odd bottles of tomato passata. So that was really just really lovely time.
You're making me hungry now. Did you go to any other wonderful places that have wonderful food?
Europe in general is
How long were you away for?
So I was away for 3 months.
Okay.
The length of the travels. Then I spent about 3 weeks in Italy, about 3 weeks in France, across Paris and Bordeaux. Then I spent another 3 weeks in Barcelona. So I say I went to Spain, but the reality is I went just to Barcelona. I got stuck there. I fell in love with the city and with the bachata dancing. So that was what I was doing most nights.
Was that the favorite part of your trip?
That was probably my favorite part of the trip for the fact that I got to meet some beautiful people, have be part of the culture through the dancing, and it was just the best weather as well at the time. It was the most like our weather here. So I just fell in love with the city. It was just beautiful. And then Portugal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you're back and you're into the corporate world.
Yes, I am back. I'm in the corporate world. I've been here now. I've been back for about 12 months now. So it's been an interesting 12 months.
And I mean, for me, this is my little passion project.
Yeah,
And you have one too.
I do. I do.
Lead self,
Lead well.
lead well.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So a common theme that I've noticed throughout my whole life, I've grown up in an environment that was more of a low socioeconomic background. I'd always dreamed of a bit of a bigger life. I'd wanted to always do more, be more, have more. And I realized from a really young age that no one was going to do that for me, that I was going to need to do that for myself. And that's what's propelled me to keep going through each of the trials or the tribulations and just keep going through each time I've had a twist and a turn and when things haven't worked out the way I'd like them to work out too. And when I got a bit older, I was like, oh, what is that? What is that thing that I have that keeps me going? What what can I lean on? A lot of people say it's resilience, and that was a part of it, but resilience wasn't what was motivating. Um, I noticed at the end of the day, all of it can be tied to one kind of key concept, and that concept is self leadership. And her title, Lead Self, Lead Well, is in itself a message. You need to be able to first lead yourself well before you can lead others well. You need to be able to have a good idea of who you are, be able to regulate yourself so you can have better conversations with yourself and with others, and to be able to have something you want to commit to that pulls you forward. And that's the basis of my lead self lead well self leadership framework.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's a catalyst do you think that's common for people to to break out of that common mindset that most of us are in and then, start leading ourselves?
That's a really great question. I think there are some people who are really great at being internally motivated first, and they just seem to have this drive and desire. However, I think it's also, even for an internally driven person, I would say I'd probably put myself in that category. I admit it's also because of the external things that I've experienced and saw growing up that I realized I didn't want that. I think some people will have one of two maybe ways that they would see it. They would see someone who's grown up on Centrelink and hasn't worked very much, and they would so say, "Oh well, that's the way life is. That's the way I don't have to work, or I it's just so hard out there. I won't keep trying, whatever." And there are other people who say, "I don't want that life for myself. I want more. I want better." So I think the catalyst, I think, for some people is their experiences. It's a mix of the experiences, what they've seen, heard, and felt whilst growing up. Some people can choose to follow in similar footsteps to their parents. Others will say, I don't want that. I don't think there's ever a specific catalyst. I think it's just, I think it's influenced by who you are around growing up as to which kind of mindset you might be naturally drawn to or influenced to think a different way. One of my favorite quotes: you are the sum of the average of the five people you spend your most time with.
Hmm.
So I think that's a catalyst for how people will shift and change in their lifetime based upon the people they spend their time with.
Lead self, lead well. Who's it for? Who's it going to help at what point in that journey?
That's a great question. Admittedly, lead self, lead well was for me to start off with. I've been wanting to share my knowledge and my experiences with the world for a while. I wanted to be part of the community that's inspiring others. And I just didn't know how to do that. So lead softly well, the idea of it turning it into a newsletter, to have a practice that puts me in a public position that gives me that opportunity to have that accountability. Originally, it was for me. The hope was that it would touch and inspire people to see a different story and to have the tools and resources they might have and need improve their life just that little bit. When I really think of my ideal person that that would reach, it's the person who perhaps needs that tiny bit of a pick me up on a day to say, yeah, I can actually do this.
And if somebody's interested in knowing about this, where do they find it on the interwebs?
They can find it on Substack or my LinkedIn profile.
Okay. Fast forward 5 years from now, what are you going to be doing?
Community. 5 years from now, what I'm hoping that I have been able to build is a really is a really great, strong community. Lead Self, Lead Well is something that I would love to turn into a community of people who are there to support each other and encourage each other to achieve the goals that they're looking at, to do the passion projects, to do the side projects, to run the marathon, to building up their skills, whatever the goal is. I'm hoping that I can turn Lead Self, Lead Well into that kind of community that's a combination of accountability, encouragement, growth, learning, and support. So I'm hoping that I'm leading that community, as well as hoping that in my personal world, I hope that I've had a partner and a family by that stage, perhaps, and that I've got really great group of friends around me. I think that's where the Brisbane Club comes into play a little bit. It's become a great community of people, wonderful people that I want to spend time with. And it's great to connect at the Brisbane Club, but it's also great to connect outside of it and build that friendship community outside too.
Yeah, awesome. Through your career, your passion project, the activities you do at the Brisbane Club, it's all centered around being of service to other human beings. Where'd that come from? What's driving that? Because everything you do is about being of service. So what do you think created that spark to you?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Growing up, I have two parents and me. My family unit is tiny. And with my mum passing last year, it's even tinier. So it's just dad and I. What I think drives me for service is my desire to have community. Acknowledging that if you want something, you need to have skin in the game. You need to put yourself out there. I used to have this mindset when I was a kid. Oh, why don't people like me? Why don't people include me? Why don't I belong? Until someone said to me that only I can choose where I belong. Only I can choose the places that I'm at. And instead of trying to find my community, I've got the ability and I'm allowed to make my community. So I think I'm just driven by that. I'm driven by wanting to be part of a really amazing community.
Awesome. Thank you very much for chatting with me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Adam. It's been really great to be part of this project for you. It's amazing to see you actually doing your passion project.
Oh, thank you.
It's good to see it. So thank you for having me.
3 questions. Dream car?
Oh gosh. For looks alone and only for looks, it's probably the Corvette Stingray.
Mm-hmm. Team daily driver?
Mercedes AMG GT.
Nice.
I've got to admit, that's a pretty sexy car.
Nice. And what is your current daily?
It's a beautiful yellow Velociter.
Oh, awesome. It's a fun car.
It's my fun car. Her name's Ellie.
Excellent.